Hi, so everybody can hear me and see me. We're all good there.
You can introduce yourself.
My name's Evan. Working with a negotiate the deal today. Starting off with kind of expectations of the class. I know we always kind of do this and kind of what we're looking for the next hour. I'm a teacher who really likes to engage, so I like to hear from you. You know, I want to hear your questions. You know, it's really hard without you guys here because, you know, you can kind of move towards the room and see what people do want to learn and everything. So just be as engaging as possible. See, we got one person.
How's it going? I'll be engaged.
Yeah, let's engage.
Perfect.
That's awesome. Just, you know, I've been doing real estate, I think since July 1st, 2010 is my actual day. So that's how long I've been in real estate. I've got a few grays in the beard since then. You know, my team does around retail sales. We do about 100 deals a year. I'm also heavily into the investment community. We do investments ourselves. So I don't know if that's why they asked me to teach negotiate the deal, because it's something I'm in quite a bit. Negotiations for my own deals, for clients' deals, and kind of all over the place. So if you guys are ready, can I get started? Do I know? So we're on this. There we go. So yep, we're starting to negotiate the contracts is what we'll focus on today. You know, break some stuff down, examine 3 Ps, analyze counter tactics. We can kind of look at real play if that's something we want to do. I don't know how that works on Zoom. And recap your success list. This. So we're going to look at how can your ability to negotiate affect the outcome of the deal, or some ways that you can negotiate in your everyday life. What are skills that great negotiators possess, and why asking questions is extremely important, and not just negotiating, but anytime you're talking. So, you know, getting started on this class, let's hear everybody, you know, what are some, like we say, negotiate the deal. What does that mean to everybody? What are we looking for? What are some expectations from you guys for this class?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
All right. So I was in the car business for 18 years. Ended up the last 4 as a general manager. So I feel exceedingly comfortable negotiating with people. So I think that would be one of my, I'm a newer agent. I started in November.
Awesome.
But I think that will be one of my best attributes, that I'm a very skilled negotiator. So
Awesome. Yeah. Where was your car deal at?
the last 13 years I was at Don Wessel Honda.
Gotcha. Love Don Wessel. I used to be used to do auto stuff when I was in college basically, and we took stuff to you guys all the time.
Okay.
So yeah. Anybody on the Zoom, what are your all's expectations for negotiation in this class? Sorry. Anything anybody would like to say?
Just would love to hear some real world examples
Okay.
of things you've run into and how you've overcome them and how you've got the best deal for your clients.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay. In our business, probably just about any business, common points in negotiation, price and terms. You know, for some people, it's not always about price, and some people it is. And, you know, we're going to go probably deep dive into some of these things, the type of different terms we can go through. I mean, obviously, there's tons of different terms when it comes to real estate. I don't know what it's like in the car industry there, but terms can be a huge deal for people. Use negotiation tips to respond to common points. This is part of the real play. And how do you guys work this in the past? Do you real play on Zoom?
We really just haven't done much.
Real play,
role-playing
yeah, I can
on
see,
here.
I mean, I can see how it's
Kind of
difficult.
skip that part.
Cut. So examining points to negotiations, the 3 Ps approach. So negotiation for me, I mean, it's perfected with experience, and I don't know what it's like. What was your name again?
Nathan?
Nathan, I don't know what it's like in your experience negotiating with cars. It is definitely something that's honed in with experience in my world. You know, because we go back to terms and to price. It's not always, you know, for me, you know, my motivation was always price, you know, because that's, you know, and that's probably the same thing for a lot of people. But really deep diving, especially in the investing world, is there are a lot of terms that can be really, really important to people. I mean, we're hearing cash, no inspections, no appraisals. This is obviously a big deal to sellers right now. I would kind of like to hear from you guys what, like, negotiating with terms, like what does that bring out of you all? Like, do you have any thoughts there?
Call on David Caldwell. He's been a realtor before. He should be
Yeah, and
able to chime in.
I saw Brian Jackson on there too. I mean, he's been in it forever.
Sorry, I was multitasking here.
No
What
worries.
was the question there?
Just in your experience, you know, negotiating price and terms, I'd like to hear kind of like what people are thinking with price and terms. We just talked about that, and that's something that hits big to me because I don't always just deep dive into price.
Yeah, it's something came up yesterday with Jordan. He had a situation there. You always want to get either, you know, the seller the highest and best price out of their house. You got to talk to them about the condition, the location, how the market is in that area, and then, you know, just explain that to them and how it all intermingles with each other. And with your seller, of course, you want to get them the best deal that you can, but you also got to talk to them about, you know, you have to be respectful and explain to them what they're going to get for their time and their money, and explain to them that this is going to be the biggest investment of their life. So they have to make sure that decision is the decision they want to make.
And how do you learn like what's important to each side? Like how do you deep dive into a negotiation? Where do you personally?
You really got to find out what their real serious to heart motivation is, why they want to sell, how soon they got to sell, and what is the best price that they're going to either give or take for a house. But it's all comes down to their motivation. Hey,
Right.
my house to me is worth $300,000. You know, I may have $300,000 in it, but the market's only going to give me $225,000, and that's what the market is. And you have to explain that to them, that it is a seller's market right now. Buyers are struggling to find. Of course, we had that come up yesterday. You put in 3 offers and 2 of them are kicked back. You know, you just got to make sure that they understand the value of their home and what it's going to bring.
Yep. So let's switch the ends there. I don't know if you work with buyers too, but you know,
Right now I'm getting back into it. I'll work with anybody.
What's that?
I'm getting back into it after 12 years, so I'll work with about anybody right now.
Yeah. So, you know, let's talk a little bit on the flip end, because we're talking about sitting down with the seller correctly. These are the terms and everything. You know, this is what's important. This is a big decision. On the flip end, in this market, such a seller's market, what does a negotiation look like for you all to get something accepted from a seller when you have 10 different offers and you're working against 10 different buyers?
How soon it's going to close, if they're going to get the money that they want out of it. There could be 10 offers and no offer is going to be the same. And you got to find the one that they're happy with and they're comfortable with.
Okay. Yep. I've noticed a lot in this, and we're going to kind of dive into this next thing. The reason I'm kind of asking these questions is going to go to this next thing, which is prepare. And that's kind of what I wanted to go to. And thank you, David, for, like, you know, what we just said, because, you know, to negotiate, at least for my clients and what I do, it's you've got to know, like you said, motivation at a deep level up front. And this isn't just asking a couple questions. This is deep diving with your client. Know your client, know your goal, not just being informed for you, but informing your client, thinking ahead, strategizing. Setting clear expectations is huge on, you know, what I preach to my team is, you know, if I'm sitting down with the client, I'm going to be as real as possible. There is no fluff when I talk to a client. Because for a buyer, you know, we've got to prepare them that, hey, there is negotiation and it's not the negotiation you're going to like. It is a rough process out there. It is, you are fighting with 10 other offers. And if you're alone, the probability of you getting accepted goes down. Because how many of you have put an offer in for 20,000 more than list price, really quick close on a conventional and lose to a lower offer that's cash that can close quicker? So, you know, to enter into these negotiation deals, we have to set expectations extremely clear with our clients. And I mean, it's always that way. And even with the sellers now, I'm telling them like, look, you know, we have a little bit of seller ego. I mean, I'm not ripping on my clients, but you know, you just said, you know, or I'm sorry, David, you just said, you know, you want 300 and you're asking 225. And I don't know if anybody has put a listing on the market above list or what you think it should have listed. I have just recently, and they thought they're going to get 10 cash offers and they got zilch because they overpriced it by 50 grand. And they just called me yesterday because after a few price drops that we did, all of a sudden we dropped it like 25,000 or something. Then we got the 10 cash offers when it was listed at what we should have listed at. The market's still the market. So setting clear expectations, because you got to think your client is always hearing the news, right? Just like us, you're hearing headlines, you know, real estate market's going up, blah, blah, blah. You know, you've got to be real with them and what's happening in the market right now. I mean, that goes to everything that, you know, is on this slideshow. You know, and it's funny that it says obey the laws. Like I would hope that everybody would obey the laws.
Yeah, I don't know now, but back then when I sold real estate, you can stigmatize a property by overpricing it because it's on the market for, you know, back then 30 days was a fast sell. It would be on the market for 60 or 90 days and you drop and drop and drop. And then people are kind of like, well, there may be something wrong with that property. So, you know, they wouldn't put offers in on it. So
yeah, I mean,
you always want to get the best price, the most reasonable market price on a property.
Absolutely. And, you know, I remember back in the day when 30 days was really quick too. You know, right now people don't get offers in 3 hours. They feel like something's wrong, and they don't usually feel like something's wrong with the market or their house. They usually feel like something's wrong with you, the agent, right?
It's always our fault.
Hey, and you know what? Like I feel like I'm a fiduciary for my clients. I feel like I take a great responsibility for my clients, and they are right.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is my fault. Even if it's not, like, you know, yeah, you set the price for your house. And yes, I did tell you. However, I need to be better at what I do to make sure that you don't make that decision, because I'm your fiduciary. And if I let that happen to one of my clients, that's on me. That's not them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah, knowing the documents inside out, it's absolutely, you know, you've got to know all that stuff. It's, you know, most of my clients are investors who sell 10 to 30 a year. They know the contracts in and out, and, you know, putting 5 days on data will get you kicked out of a bidding war really quick. So you've got to know those data, you know, or the documents inside and out. Knowing your client's huge, because you got to know where they want to go, timelines they need to do. You know, if they can't move for 6 months, you probably shouldn't be putting their house in the market yet, type thing, you know, because they're going to have a pretty real, you know, again, if you price it right, they're going to have a real awakening the first day they put it on the market. So before we go to the next slide, anybody have any questions? How do I go back? Okay, figured it out. Being prepared, how do you ask questions to your client and maybe in the offer when you're with another real estate agent? Where do you all succeed in negotiation when it comes to questions? Does anybody have like specific questions they like to ask that really gets them into it? What works for you guys, or what questions do you have that I could answer for you that works for me?
I think my biggest thing is, that's worked well for me is calling the listing agent and just asking them, tell me more about your seller. What does your seller want? What are they hoping to see? Do they want a quick close? Is price the most important?
Yeah.
And
Can you all hear him and his questions? Can, okay.
And just talking through with the listing agent. I mean, I've had a few of them that I've talked to and that have just sung like birds,
Yeah.
and then it helps me win the negotiation.
Yeah. I mean, how big of a deal is it that you call the listing agent when you submit something or before you submit something and ask some questions?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous in the past couple, years that I still see emails with an offer and nobody ever called.
Yeah. I mean, I look at negotiation as you have your poker cards and I have mine.
Mm-hmm.
And the person that wins is the person that if I can get you to show me some of your cards, but yeah, I got all 5 of them that you don't see, then I'm going to win. And so, I know that sounds kind of rudimentary, but I think that the whole goal of it though is to glean as much information as you can from the other party in order to make your offer more
so
successful.
You've been negotiating for a long time doing, car deals and everything. Have you realized the difference getting from car sales to real estate?
Oh yeah, I mean, the biggest difference to me is as the buyer's agent, I can't talk to the seller.
Yeah.
If I could, then I'd get every deal.
Yeah.
But I can't. I'm at the mercy of the listing agent. So that's why, to me, it's very important to build a relationship the best that you can with the listing agent so that they want to take your offer.
Right.
And they know that you're going to be easy to work with and you're going to be flexible with their sellers. And, just that I think is very important. I mean, the goal of any negotiation though, too, is to get the other party to like you.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, you can't talk to the seller, so you can't get the seller to like you, but you can get the listing agent to like you,
Right.
and then subsequently like your client through you, and then help you structure the terms so that you have the best terms when they're presenting offers. And then all other things being equal, if your terms are exactly the same as another person's, they want to pick yours because you've built a relationship.
You say something that's really important because there's been a lot of times where, I'm presented, as a listing agent, I get presented with 10 different offers and you get 2 that are exactly the same. And one of them was really like, not a nice agent or something, or really bad. And hey, like this person just emailed this to me. That I'm still surprised that happens. It still happens. This person just emailed this contract to me. This person called me and set up expectations and is ready to go. Which one do you want?
100%, the one you've already talked to.
So, and part of this too is like, I've realized a lot, especially in real estate, is, I don't know, have you guys noticed that realtors like to talk? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, realtors like to talk. So, if I'm presenting to a listing agent and I know that listing agents like to talk, what do you do in that scenario?
Ask them open-ended questions so they'll talk.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at with this slide is just ask them open-ended questions because they will tell you everything. And maybe I've been in real estate, I haven't been in any other careers, I've always been in real estate. But what I have found is that realtors will open up everything to me. And you've just got to ask them, tell me what your client wants. They want a caddy? I mean, what do they want? Is it all about net price? Is it about inspections? Is it about appraisals? What are their fears? Just let the realtor talk and they'll tell you everything, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
So, and this is all talking about preparing in this slide still, I think to a certain point, once you've done this for a while, you've got this part down. For me, I'm always asking a listing agent, if I'm on the buy side, what's the most important thing about the sale of this home to your seller other than net price? I don't want them to focus on price. I already know they want net.
Of course, everybody does, yeah.
Right? They will tell me if it's not about the net. That's happened like a couple times. Hey, it's not about the most of, they just got to be out in 3 weeks type deal. Right? That stuff wins with other agents. Do you all have any other questions or comments before I go to the next slide? This is actually, so I was going over these slides last night. What would happen if, this is something I do actually all the time, and usually it's in bigger negotiations. So if we're, buying a package deal or something that's a little bit more expensive, I will actually get with my team or whoever I'm working the deal with to be prepared for whatever bullet they're going to give me. So if we're going to, counter, or we're going to submit something, I want to know beforehand all the options that they have to respond with. Does that make sense to everybody? Like they could do this, they could do this, they could do this, they could do this. What is our response for each one, and what is the response after that? Because it all has to go back to your end goal. I do that as a buyer for myself, and I do that for clients a little bit. Usually, I don't do big deals with my clients. Most of my clients are just retail sales investors. So I don't do, big things like that. But for myself, I want to know what they're going to do next. And I want to do what they're going to do next before they know, right? They have these options. I don't want to be surprised. So this one's a big deal because we do this the week before we go into negotiations. Me and my business partner and or my team or whatever person we might be partnering up with, to say like, these are the options that could potentially happen. And what are we going to do if those options are presented? The what would happen if question is a big question, in my business. Why is this important to you? I don't like why questions. They sound like accusations. I try to rarely go, because if you say like why, like, my children do that to me and it bugs crap out of me. If you go why, it's like, shut up, just do it, right? Like, you kind of just, you don't want, why is like an accusation that you're wrong. Now, I rarely ever start with why, but you do want to know, hey, what's the reasoning that's really important to you? I want to know. Like that's I think is a lot more powerful of a question than, anything that starts with why. But, the why is that important to you goes to a deeper core of why somebody is wanting to do stuff. And that's what you want to know. In a negotiation, I'm all about win-win. I want to win. I want the person in front of me going to win. Springfield is way too small of a community to go win-lose. You might win that deal, but in the next deal, you're going to lose because they know who you are. I don't know if any of you have, heard names around town of anything, not just real estate, but if somebody's not about win-win in this market, you will get kicked out of the market pretty quick. So why is that important to you is a huge motivational question you want to pull in, because I want you to win just as much as I need to win. This is a deal. We're doing this together, right? If it's not a win for you, I'm not doing it. And if it's not a win for me, I hope you wouldn't want to do that either. We've been through a lot of deals where, it's the process. If you ask this question, really figure out what's a win to the opposite side. The process in between from getting it negotiated and under contract to the closing table is much easier. Much easier. And I'm sure all of us, at least some of us, have dealt with the other side who wants you to lose. Because then all your client wants to do is find a way out of the contract. And again, going back to my experience, and even if I'm the buyer, if like the seller, if something I'm buying is, just a mean person, and I don't know that until we're into the contract, you just kind of want out. You don't want to deal with that person. You know, so doing this and the way we do it in our community, it's all about win-win. And for it to be a win on the other side, you've got to know what's important to that other client. Even though they're not your client, you should want them to win. Yes, you want to represent your client, obviously. However, there's a puzzle pieces that work and you can make everybody happy. And if everybody's not going to be happy, that real estate process is just going to suck, to be honest. Like, it's just going to be terrible. So any questions before I go to the next slide? Comments? Prepare, do, ask questions to clarify and set clear expectations. So once you know their motivation, I want to know their motivation before I'm going to start advising too much. I want to know what they want. I want to know what's important to my client before we ever get into a deal to make sure I know how to represent them in this process. And after that, I'm going to set clear expectations. You know, you want to move really, really quickly. You want too much money. You want to sell as is, and you don't want there to be an appraisal. Because for some reason you've heard you're going to get $100,000 above list price. That's cash, no appraisal, and no inspection. I'm sure there's a news article out there that says it because it feels like some clients really want that right now. And you just got to be real and go, look, that might happen, but the probability is it's not going to happen. I want to know all of their motivations beforehand. And if, it's an important move, you've got to let them know, because sometimes there are time bombs. I have a lot of people switching jobs right now for, whatever reasons. They're switching jobs, they're moving, or they're coming here. You've got to be real with them before you ever even get into a negotiation deal. It's really bad if you do not set those clear expectations, because you're already taking somebody who's taken a lot of false information that might or might not be true information, and is making one of the biggest decisions you can make during your life, right? Like, it's not selling vacuums. This is selling something, they only do 4 times in their whole life. What is it, like 3 to 5 times their whole life? So you've got to take all of their motivations, set clear expectations before I'll ever even enter a deal. Like, I do have those clients who'll call me on a listing, say, I want to offer, blank cash on that. That does happen, and they're really standoffish. I get that, but I set an expectation there too. Is, hey, look, I know you want to do this really quickly. I know you've got all your ducks in a row, but if we don't sit down for 5 minutes and go over some stuff, just, be real, like, don't be pissed off at me when something doesn't go wrong or when something goes wrong. Like, I that is an expectation within itself for me. Anybody questions, comments before I go to the next slide? Pay attention to verbal and nonverbal cues. This is a big deal to me, actually. Most people will only, verbal so much of their communication, and it's actually very low. That's actually why I don't like you guys, being on Zoom. I'd rather you be here. I want to know, hey, is Evan doing terrible or is he not doing terrible? Because I can tell by, your body if you're doing good or not. Like, and it's the same thing with your client. Like, if you're sitting in front of them, yeah, we do a lot of stuff over the phone, so you got to go into tonality a lot. But you really want to, I really, really look at body language when I'm talking about anything. I want to know, do I need to talk more? Do I need to talk less? What do I need to do? Are you totally disengaged? Are you engaged? Where do we need to go in this conversation? And most of what I talk about is based off your body language. I mean, in your negotiation deals, do you pay attention to that at all? Mm-hmm. Huge. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes negotiating over the phone so much more difficult in person, because in person you can present something and you can see what the person's reaction is and realize if you're on the right track or if you got to pivot.
Right. And it's tough not being, real estate's so phone based too, and you've got to really learn in those tonalities. That's kind of what goes to this next one. Keep quiet once you present the offer. That's the, what is it, the silent treatment or whatever it's called. I love that because you make the statement and you just stop. You know, again, realtors like to talk. It's not a bad thing. I wish, you know, I'm not like most of the realtors. I don't actually like talking a lot. I'm very, you know, internal and introverted. But I love to be able to sit there, ask something, and just let the realtor talk. And me just sit back. So keep quiet once you present anything or ask a question. Let other people talk, they'll tell you. I actually had somebody who, I don't know if it was the person who taught me that strategy, but we were doing a deal together and we both went on the silent and just kept the phone on the side. And we were on the phone for like 30 minutes and neither of us would give in to talking to each other. I don't remember what happened or who won that battle, but listen carefully what's important to the other party, stay calm and relaxed. This is, again, this is going into my practice. I'm not saying this is right for you all or wrong for anybody, but staying calm and relaxed is a lot of our job. You know, if we're representing a different client, they're already stressed out, even if they don't show it. There we go.
I'm just down here because I left my phone.
I thought we were in trouble.
No. Why? Because then I come
Yeah,
down here.
I
it's
thought I
like
was in
everyone else.
trouble.
You're not. You're doing a really good job. Yeah. Thank you.
She lies a lot.
I don't lie. Keep up the good work.
Stay calm and relaxed. Again, going back, I think is because they're already stressed. They're already talking to their spouses. They're already talking to their friends. They're already talking to their coworkers. When this stuff starts happening, it doesn't stop it and it takes over your whole life. I don't know if any of you bought or sold a home, but when I bought and sold a home, it took up my whole life. You know, like you don't work. You might go to work, but you're not working. You're, you know, on Amazon buying stuff for your house. Like, you know, you're planning the move date. You're, you know, stressed about the inspection. Staying calm and relaxed is in part of my theory of real estate is your job, because, you know, I run into a lot of real estate agents that make the problem worse, make that challenge much more hyper or something. I don't know the word to use for it, or challenging, because they're stressed about it. And it's like, you don't be stressed about it. It's not your purchase. It's not your sell. You're here to advise. And, you know, I think as realtors, staying calm and relaxed, your client feeds off that. Like if you're stressed out, they're going to be stressed out, and they're already stressed out. So now you're just making them more stressed out, which makes the deal even harder to get done. Like a lot of bad stuff happens in this. Things are going to fall through. There's bad inspections. There's bad appraisals. They're going to happen. They're just part of the business. Let them happen. If they don't happen, you're not doing enough business. Right? Like, there's always terms like that. Like if you don't have these challenges, well, you're probably not doing enough business. You know, I have 2 bad appraisals right now. I have 3 horrible inspections right now. I don't need to call my client crying about it. And I don't want the other person calling me all upset about it, which I have one on an inspection right now that they're freaking out about it, the agent themselves. It's stay calm and relaxed. There's no point to go any further. It's going in the next point. It's focused on your customer's needs, you know. I don't know if any of you have had like horrible inspections, and really, like when I first started this business, you know, I had a horrible inspection once. I was really freaked out to call the client. I was stressed out about it more than the client was when I called him. I said, this, and this. And they're like, yeah, it's my house. I knew that stuff would come up. We're ready to go. You know, like, you know, you got to focus on them. It's not about you. Stay calm. And then, you know, work through the issues as you're going. And, you know, going on negotiation part of the deal. I mean, you know, inspections are part of negotiation. It's part of the conversation. This is all just negotiation. It's all helping your client get to the next step, all the way up to them buying or selling. So give your offer the best chance. You know, when I see this bullet point, when I get before I'll even submit an offer or write an offer, most of the time I'm having conversations with the client and listing agent, because I'm not going to, like, it's your time too. Like, I'm not going to write something up that's not going to work for anybody. Like, talk to the other person. You have 10 offers. What's, you know, what can we do? What's important? Go back to your client, say, hey, this looks what it's going to take. You know, this is, you know, it's this is the market. This is what it's got to look like. Are you willing to get even close to this? Because if not, you know, I don't know if you want to waste the time to do it and be stressed out for 24 hours. Like, if you do, great, you know, whatever you want. but giving your people the best chances, you know, obviously. Any questions, comments before I go to the next slide? I mean, it's going into an example here. Buyer wants to close in 60 days. The seller has to close in 30 days. You know, what are you willing to do? What, you know, is this house that important to you? You know, is there a way you can make it in 30 days and not 60? You know, you're just going through the steps with your client, pulling out as much information as you can from the listing or whatever agent on the other side and your client, so you can puzzle piece the deal together and, in my opinion, make a win-win deal that's great for everybody. Client gets defensive. You know, I used to have this a lot. I don't think I get it. I don't think your client's going to get defensive if you set up the correct expectations way before this. The way I set up expectations with my clients is, hey, look, this is a really, buying and selling real estate is extremely stressful. Rarely do people come out happy. Even when you're netting getting that 100,000 or whatever money is check in your bank account, you're usually stressed through something in this process because it's not easy. I mean, just moving furniture is stressful to me. Anybody ever move furniture? Like, it sucks. Like, I mean, you know, that's stressful. This is a stressful process. Something is going to go wrong down the road. So, you know, I go back to setting up expectations because I'm really big on setting up expectations. I'd rather have a 20-minute conversation up front to alleviate hours and hours worth of pain later. And it's going back to this. If my client gets defensive, I didn't set up really good expectations. I mean, unless this, you know, the other side just does something off the wall, you know, then we're both probably upset. But then, you know, it's just, you know, you figure it out. And it says my goal is to let the buyer know why this is important to you. I mean, you know, yeah, yeah. Any questions, comments before I go to the next one? Any thoughts from anybody thus far?
I like the question of help me understand why this is important to you. You know, just so you kind of flesh out, you know, is it really important, or you just heard that it should happen in 30 days and that's why you want it to happen in 30 days?
Yeah. And, you know, I've seen that conversation change over the past 10 years because I used to, you know, let's say I was teaching a class 5 years ago. I would say 5 years ago, rarely is somebody moving just because of the money. That's rare. There's something behind it. Like, they're moving because of something. I see a lot of moves right now just because the money's important. Why is the money important to you? I just want a bunch of cash. Okay. I mean, I've seen that, you know, more and more where there's not a deep motivational level to sell or buy, you know, right? You know, on the sell side, at least, you know, so that conversation I've seen actually change over the past couple of years in this, you know, weird market we're in. So anybody else? I gotta get used to this Zoom thing. You'd think I'd be used to it now in the day we live in, but read instructions, partner. Analyze counter tactics. It looks, just, if it's all right with you guys, just go to the next one instead of doing the partnering up thing since we're on Zoom. Unless you guys are wanting to do that. See, so I'm looking at this and it feels like it's a little like looking at these counter tactics, like ask for a concession in return before agreeing to further concessions. I mean, do you guys see a lot of counters nowadays? It's usually just highest and best and you accept. Brian Jackson?
Yeah, we're not seeing a whole lot of counter offers going on at all. Like you said, highest and best by 5 PM or 7 PM or whatever. And then an email later that says, we're sorry, you didn't get that one, you know?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So it's, you know, counter tactics, like, you know, if you're setting up your client right now, you shouldn't be getting counter. You know, maybe some, like, I'm countering before we ever even write the contract, like what's important, you know, it goes back to what's important, what are we doing? Like, you know, counter, I'm not really, you know, worried about unless it's something special, but then I'm going back to like what we talked about earlier, where I want to know what they're going to counter with before they even counter. And I've already set that up with a client. Like if they counter at this, would you be happy? Or if they countered with this terms, would you be happy? You know, if they do that, let's, you know, figure out what we're going to do before it even comes to us. So real play, employee 3 E's. Create your success list. So anybody have any ahas, anything? We went through that real fast. I'm not even really looking at my work guide.
I'd love to hear just more real life examples of how
Yeah.
you've been successful negotiating different deals.
So I kind of going back to what I was talking about, the win-win thing. The reason I've won deals and other people on the other end of my deals have won because I know that that person is going to present a lot better transaction than maybe somebody else. Does anybody, do you know what I'm talking about?
I lost you there.
So there is a little bit like about a reputation, and I will tell you, like, and I could be wrong about my reputation. You know, I really don't know, but I've had a lot of agents say, hey, we took your offer, you were a little less just because I knew like you do your job, you're ethical, you know, you work hard and that stuff. And that stuff for me goes a long way. And I don't know about anybody on the Zoom call. It's extremely important when I know, hey, again, 2 deals look exactly or really close to the same, you know, and you have a really good reputation or really bad reputation. Like I used to think, well, is that bad that I'm going to tell my client that? Like, is that a bad thought? Is that a bad thing to do? And I'm my client's fiduciary. I need to let them know what's happening and like what's happening in the market. And that's a part of the market, in my opinion. I could be wrong. And, you know, Jim Boland could give me a call here soon, but you know, I have to be real with my client. Hey, look, these people are going to give you crap the whole time. These people aren't. That's a big deal. And I've won a lot of deals just because, you know, hey, you were close and you made the phone call and the other person didn't. Right? Like, you've got to put in the work. It's not easy and it shouldn't be easy. We get very large paychecks. It shouldn't be easy. You should be taking the time to do that. You should be researching the property. You should know all of this stuff before you ever enter into the conversation with the listing agent, or, you know, vice versa. So, and I think, you know, going back to what you're asking, like, how have I won deals in my experience? I would say specifically that's it. And people know that I'm telling, like, I'm very truthful. I'm like, you know, I'm going to make my client look really good, the best that I can. But also, I'm also not going to lie, if that makes sense. You know, I'm not going to lie. I have, you know, Tim McCall always tells me to lie about stuff. I'm like, no.
I'll remember that.
And you know, I think, you know, again, going back just to answer the question, that's how I've done it. You know, and if I know maybe an agent doesn't like me or we haven't had the best experiences in the past, you know, I try to, like, I kind of go backwards and go, look, you know, this person might be different from the last negotiation she did with me, or he or she did with me. And I really try to take that relationship as a brand new relationship. And I try to offset all that stuff and say, hey, let's, you know, because it's just people being people. You're not going to get along with everybody. You should be respectful to everybody. And again, I just think doing that, just treating people right, doing the respectful thing, keeping it a win-win conversation, you will win more than you lose. Probability of you winning is a lot higher. Makes sense. So, any other questions? Anything else we can go through? I took out a while. I don't even know what time it is. Oh, it's been 50 minutes. Okay. I've got plenty of time to like go over any questions, anything that anybody wants to go through, anything specific scenarios. I'm ready for you. Any other questions, comments?
You know, you might talk about, I mean, what are you doing personally to try to make your offers stand out? Because, you know, so many times we're one of 8, one of 10, one of 20, whatever. What are you doing to try to make yours stand out?
So one, the phone call is the most important. You got to be on in my mind, you got to be on the phone with them. You've got to be asking questions. You got to be deep diving in a relationship. You know, I mean, it really does go back to win-win and what's important for your client. Other than that price, we know the most money amount is great, but what's real here, you know? And going back to, you know, knowing your client, you know, we're in the age of you might have to pay $20,000 to get around a bad appraisal. It's just real. I don't like it. You don't like it, but it's real. It's what's happening. You know, so knowing your client, knowing the other party as good as you can, and putting the puzzle pieces together and already knowing what's going to happen before it happens and making sure those pieces are already connected before they even happen, and letting the agent know that, hey, look, forget about appraisal. You know, I'm, you know, like love letters. I've never been about that. You know, I'm, you know, not going to put like feathers on the offer and mail it over or anything. It's just a real conversation with another person trying to help their client. And it's all back to expectations. You win from the expectation with your client. And sometimes, you know, when they have unreal expectations, it's like, you know, that's going to be hard. The probability wise is really, I always talk in probability wise because anything's possible, right? We put a house under contract about 2 months ago, and we were the only offer, and we got it for lower than list price, and it was on the market for like 6 hours, right? It was a Sunday holiday, I think. Like there was just nobody in the market that day, and we just got it and nabbed it really quick. That was luck. Let's be real, that was luck. Probability wise, this is what's going to happen. You're going to find a house, you need to be at least a conventional loan or cash. You know, you're going to have to be, a lot of times you have to be above list price. A lot of times you have to put cash above appraisal, you know, setting that expectation and then notifying the other agent of, look, I set the expectation with the client. We're ready for a bad appraisal. We're ready for a bad inspection. This is what we'll do in that scenario. That wins.
Those are good expectations to set. I know you've talked a lot about setting expectations. Going back to like when you're having a conversation about listing or about being a buyer's agent, is there a list of key expectations that you want to make sure you cover on the front end in the first meeting, either on a listing presentation or on a buyer?
So I'm real, like, as specific as I like to get, I really actually want to keep it very general. Because in our world, anything can happen, right? I mean, I've had the seller at a closing 3 hours die before they got to the closing because there was a car wreck. I mean, anything can literally happen in this business. Like, it's just a crazy business to be a part of. So I set that expectation with my client. Hey, here's what the market's doing. Here's what you're probably going to have to do. You know, give them the appraisal, the inspection, those types of things. And hey, anything could happen. Because that's real. You know, within the realms of, you know, moving and stuff, like, you know, it's really challenging. This is a challenging process. If it wasn't challenging, I wouldn't have a job. You would not be paying me 6% of the purchase price of a $300,000 property if it wasn't challenging. It's challenging. It's actually getting more and more challenging the more times, you know, these, you know, other people blog or put posts out there about like what to expect in buying a home, and 3 out of the 7 things are completely wrong. You know, it gets more and more challenging. It's tough. We're going to have a tough ride together. We better link up and hold hands. Let's go. I'm going to call you with some bad stuff. And if I don't, you're the luckiest SOB I've ever met, because I've not had to do that with one client. Usually you're calling them about something bad. And if you don't, you just high five and go, hey, you're 1 out of the 100. It happens, but it's rare. So you just set the expectation. This is gonna be a rough process, but I'm gonna be here for you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's a good overview.
Anything else I can answer, kind of go over? Okay, well, I hope I did okay. Zoom's really, I mean, talk about doing some challenging stuff. Zoom for some reason is challenging to me. This is a weird world, huh? You know, I'd like to see your faces. Hopefully we can do that soon. Next time I teach, I appreciate y'all, you know, listening to me rant for 55 minutes. And I'm always, you know, a phone call away if anybody ever has any questions.
You
So
did good.
thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So I'm good if everybody else is good, unless you want to go over anything else. Well, appreciate it, y'all. Have a good day, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Close that, we're done.